If you want your machine to last and save on maintenance, there are a few procedures that anyone can do, and I'm gonna show what, when, and how I do in my E61. And this is just my routine, my approach. I'm not saying that the other people's recommendations or yours are wrong. It's just how I do, okay? Starting with my daily routine. One of the most important things is to use good water. What I mean by good water? A water that is not too hard, which may cause scaling in your machine. If you didn't see my previous videos about scaling, you can check in the cards what can happen to your machine if you use hard water and don't descale regularly. Second point is it cannot be too soft and it cannot have chlorine. So if you use tap water and it is too soft, it may cause corrosion. What I do? I use a water that is never above 90 or 110 TDS. I measure with this TDS meter that comes in the Zero Water kit, but you can buy on AliExpress or Amazon. They are relatively cheap, and it's a good indication of how hard is your water. And I recommend always below 110, 90 TDS. And to get a softer water, you need to use a filtration method if the water in your area is too hard. My recommendation is Zero Water. It will give you a water with 0 TDS. It will eliminate completely the ions, the minerals. And with the Zero Water, you can mix with mineral water and achieve the hardness, the alkalinity that you want. Or you can mix with tap water. Again, it's not recommended to use tap water because it has chlorine and it may cause corrosion. But I mix tap water with Zero Water, and I'm gonna show in a few moments the inspection in this machine. By the way, I was using only tap water for the last 3 months because I wanted to see if I would have any signs of scale in this machine. But stick with me, we'll get there. In every shot, I use a puck screen. I have 2 versions. I was using this one from MHW3 Bomber that has a fine mesh on the back and larger holes in the front. This has been better than that one with a thicker mesh that a lot of coffee gets stuck in the middle of the mesh. This is a bit easier to clean. Then I bought this one to test. It's a very thin string. And why I use the puck screen? Some people believe that it helps with the water distribution, that you have a more even flow of water in your puck. In my case, I didn't see any difference. Maybe because the shower screen is already a good one. It's an IMS shower screen, but it helps a lot to keep the shower screen cleaner. And this is not something that I am saying. It seems to be a consensus. Every people that I talk to that adopted the showers, the puck screens, they say that the main benefit is keeping the shower screen cleaner. Then after every shot, I flush the machine to clean the shower screen, the portafilter, the filter, and the puck screen that I leave on the drip tray. Some people, they backflush the machine every day. So maybe after your last shot, you can backflush. But in my case, I do it only weekly. After the last shot of the day, you can use a nylon brush like this to remove any residues in the shower screen and in the group. What I do weekly, as I mentioned, I backflush weekly with a blind basket in the portafilter. Just put in the group, lock, and run some water for about 10-15 seconds. Some people do it every day, but I'm doing weekly. It depends on how many espressos you do, but in my case it's about 3 per day. Then in about 5 days I have to empty the drip tray. Whenever I empty the drip tray, I wash with a little bit of detergent and a soft sponge. I use a vegetable sponge, and I also refill the water tank with fresh water. In my monthly schedule, I backflush the machine with Cafisa. In my video about the descaling process for the ECM Classika PID, I showed how to do the backflush with Cafisa. I'll leave the card and you can check. In some machines you can program a reminder. This one you can program to remind you between 0 to 200 shots, but it depends on the version of machine that you have. Mine is a bit older, I think. It doesn't have this option, but I just backflush every month, between 1 and 2 months, to be honest. And I also remove the water tank and I wash with a little bit of detergent and a soft sponge, the same vegetable sponge that I mentioned before. And it's to remove the biofilm. Even if this tank is covered and doesn't receive any light, it creates a bit of a biofilm, and then I wash every month. But then within the same interval of 1 to 2 months, maybe after the second time that I backflush the machine with Cafisa, the lever becomes a bit squeaky. It's super annoying for me. Then I lubricate the lever about every 1 or 2 months as well. First, remove the nut and the lever. Be careful not to lose the washer. Then remove the camshaft valve with an adjustable wrench. Clean the valve with a soft cloth. Lubricate all the seals and parts that wear with Molykote 111 or equivalent food grade grease. I'm using Lubrifilm Plus, but I didn't like it and I recommend Molykote. Then reinstall the camshaft valve. It doesn't need to be super tight. Then reinsert the washer in the lever, the nut attached to the machine. And pay attention to the orientation. The normal position is with the lever down. Then every 6 months, I lubricate the whole E61 group. So I disassemble the mushroom valve, the lever, the discharge valve, and I clean and lubricate every O-ring, every rubber piece, every piece of metal that is in constant friction. To remove the mushroom, you will need an adjustable wrench. It needs to be a larger one. And I'm protecting the mushroom valve by using this electrical tape in the wrench. You can also put the electrical tape around the mushroom, or you can use a cloth. Let's open. Okay. Doesn't need to be super tight, so it was easy to open now. Let's see how it is. Looks okay. It's a bit dirty. I'm gonna clean a bit. Let me remove the spring. Also this valve. It's okay as well. So the chamber looks okay. So this is the chamber. There are no signs of scaling. Now again, we need to add a fine layer of grease to all the seals and parts that wear. Short side is downwards. Put the spring back. Again, a fine layer of grease in the seals. You will note that this is the flow control valve I was replacing, and I am using the same video to explain how to lubricate the mushroom valve. It has the same format. It just has the handle on the top, but if you ignore the handle and if you pretend that this is the mushroom valve, the procedure is the same. Lubricate the seals, put the mushroom valve back in position. You can tighten a bit with your hands, and then you finish with the adjustable wrench. Now, if you're seeing again, I'm sorry, but I'll repeat for the people who just skipped to this part. So to lubricate the lever, you need to remove the nut and the lever. Then be careful not to lose the washer. Remove the discharge valve and pay attention to the sequence and orientation of the components. You will have to reassemble later. And be careful not to lose the small parts like this sleeve that goes in the bottom of the chamber. And again, clean all the parts with a soft cloth and lubricate those parts with a fine layer of Molykote 111 or your food grade grease, and then reassemble. I forgot to show here, but the sleeve was already reinserted in the chamber. Now I'm putting the spring back in the chamber. Same lubrication procedure. You may not notice, but this black ring is a seal. Don't forget to lubricate it. Then reinsert and set it aside. Continuing with the optimal sequence, when we are lubricating the whole E61 group, remove the camshaft valve, clean it with a soft cloth, as we are doing in all the other parts, and lubricate it with your food grade grease. As I mentioned earlier, I'm using this Lubrifilm Plus, and then next time I'm gonna buy the Molykote 111, and according to my friends, it looks that it lasts longer than the other similar food grade grease. So now it's time to put the discharge valve back in position. Then reinstall the camshaft valve. It doesn't need to be super tight. And now you can tighten the discharge valve. Remember to not over tight, and that we tighten in the counterclockwise direction. Finally, put the washer and the nut in the lever and reinstall it with your screwdriver. Every 12 months, I'm going to inspect the boiler with that micro camera that I showed in my previous videos. And for that, you just need to remove the panel under the cup tray. You will need a 2.5mm Allen key to remove 6 screws that hold the panel in place. And remember that you need to remove the water tank before that. This is the steam tube that I'm going to remove for a while. Very carefully. After removing the steam pipe, I prefer to siphon the water from the boiler. I think it's more practical. After draining the boiler, we can use the micro camera to see inside the boiler. And as we can see here, there are no indications of scaling in this machine. Then, I'm not descaling this machine now. I'm just going to refill the boiler with water and close the machine. Don't over tighten this tube. It is a soft metal, it's copper. You can easily damage it, okay? I'm putting the mushroom back just to test for any leakage. So I'm putting back the water tank, and I like to run some water just to make sure that the boiler is full. Now I'm gonna lock my portafilter with a blind basket to pressurize the system and check if there is no leakage. Okay, achieved 6 bar. And that's okay. So it's working. But first we're gonna close the machine. So let me remove the water tank again. And let's put the 6 screws back. Also in the 12 months range, it may be possible that your group gasket is dry and you have to replace it. It's very easy and cheap to replace the gasket, but I don't replace based on time. I replace based on condition. So if there is some water leaking from the outside of the portafilter into the cup, it's probably because the group gasket is too dry and it's time to replace it. That's when I change. Or if you're changing the shower screen, if you're upgrading to an IMS, for example, then you can take the opportunity to replace the gasket. Here I prepared a summary of my maintenance plan. You can take a print screen, and I'm also leaving a link in the description for you to download a PDF. If this video was helpful, don't forget to give your like, and thanks for watching.